Well, hello YouTube, this is the Presidential Tourist, back with another exciting video. I'm in Clermont, Florida right now at the Historical Village. Been wanting to visit here for a couple years. Just took me a while to get here, but I'm here, and they have several historical buildings. They have a little World War II museum, which I'm going to show, and just going to explore the place. I've been to a few of these historical villages in the past, and I always liked them, and they're always very interesting, and there's others I plan to visit in the future. But right now I'm at the Clermont one. Alright, well, let's get going. Here's a view of some of the older buildings. That's that World War II museum I was telling you about. Wonder what they used to put through there. Maybe they used to load like coal or something. But that hasn't been open in a long time. Gives you some more information. And they have a website too, if you want to check it out.
Okay, I'll be behind. I'll be going forward. Thank you.
You haven't found any marked critters, huh?
Oh, yeah. So this is the Kern. No, excuse me, I was over there. This is the Townsend house, and these were the first black people that moved here. They grew up in Orlando, and actually he grew up in Georgia, and he knew how to read and write, we think, because he lived, his father was a servant in a manor house in Georgia. So this house was over on Route 50 going out of town, and it was moved here in 2004 for $40,000 on the back of a truck. And it was in terrible disrepair, and if you have it just a minute, you can see some of the ways that it looked. We had this picture, so we restored it to look like this. But when it was brought over here, it was in horrific disrepair. Nobody had lived in it for a long, long time. And so it took 2 years to put it all back together with a lot of volunteer work, taking off paint, scraping floors, and so forth. But the reason they could restore it is because it had good bones. It had hearts of pine floors, termites don't eat pine, and probably this is either oak or cypress or something that doesn't get eaten by insects. So we were able to restore it with a lot of work. None of the things that you see in here are from the Townsends, because these were donated by many generous people. The Townsends had 3 girls and a boy. We don't know too much about them. The 3 daughters went into education because their father, not only was he a gardener, he opened a little store. He also opened a school for black children. He opened the first AME black church that's still in existence here in Clermont. And his wife noticed that the doctors were not delivering white babies, so she took a midwifery course, and over her lifetime she delivered 1,000 black and white babies. So they were quite the entrepreneurs, and everyone in Clermont liked these people. She was called Aunt Sally, and everyone knew them back when it was a very small town. Okay, so we'll go on into the kitchen. Probably back in their day, the kitchen would have been outside because of fire, danger, and heat. But we have turned this room, which we don't really know which rooms they used, how they used them in this house. There is an upstairs with 2 or 3 bedrooms. So the laundry probably was done like this out in the back porch. And so we've tried to set this up as a kitchen that looks like back in the late 1800s. We do bring a lot of school children through here so that they can see how people lived before there was air conditioning and heat and so forth. And if you notice, there's a lot of windows and doors in both of these houses. That's how they got their fresh air. They just opened all the windows and doors, had porches, sat on the porches. That's how they lived. Hopefully not too many mosquitoes. This is another picture of Aunt Sally. Everyone called her Aunt Sally, with one of the babies that she delivered.
Now, are they buried around here?
Yes, they are. Yes.
Wow. We're too spoiled with things today.
What is the oldest cemetery here in Clermont?
I'm not actually sure. I could show you pictures of, do you know how the oldest cemetery? I mean, it's pretty old.
Yeah.
You know, the town was, people started coming here in the late 1800s, so I'm sure they had cemeteries back then. And now there's the main cemetery up there, and the Kearns are all buried in that cemetery too, up there.
Oak Ridge, I think?
I think it is, yeah. Actually, one of those scrapbooks has a picture of a tombstone of theirs, later if you want to look at it.
Okay.
So they probably did a lot of living on the back porch, and kids probably brought water up from, this house was by a small lake where it was moved from. And so this bathtub was not original to the house. They didn't have any kind of plumbing, or they couldn't turn water on. So I think this bathtub was in this house when they moved it here, as far as I know. But a bathroom would have looked more like what we have set up over here, which is, you know, just a table with soap they probably made and things like that. This was James and Sally's bedroom, and we know that because James designed this house, and he put the door in here specifically so that Sally could either come in or out, or the women could come in or out. Their bed, of course, wonderful rope bed springs and mattress that could have been filled with Spanish moss or feathers, who knows what.
Hay and straw, right?
Could have been that too. Mm-hmm. And
That would have been better than Spanish moss.
and of course this would be to have hot coals in it
Warmer.
and heat up the feet, because they had. didn't
They
have
also
electric
use
blankets.
dogs to warm
Oh.
them at night.
Probably.
They get
dogs
awful
after
hot
that.
at night.
Yeah, yeah. This is kind of interesting. Mascot back a little church back in 1921. They for a dime you could have your name embroidered on here, and it almost looks like red ink from far away. But all of that is teeny tiny embroidery. And someone researched this. There was I think that notebook that had all the names that were on here, so that they could tell some of the early settlers. So I thought that was pretty interesting. As I said, there's an upstairs here. Once again, that shows that this was a very, very nice house. And so they were entrepreneurs. They made money, you know, and they only had 4 children. So they had the 3 daughters. The one in the big picture, she became a teacher. That is her below. And she's the one that had 2 daughters. And Aunt Sally actually partially raised the daughters. Both of them are deceased. They were in their 90s. So that's the story of.
They don't take you upstairs?
No.
No, not in this house. It's kind of dangerous upstairs.
Oh,
Really not.
is there furniture up there?
Yeah, you can, as I showed you pictures,
Stairs are a little.
inside, you know, painted floors. They had to refinish everything. A lot of volunteer work went into these houses, and a lot of skilled volunteers were able to do this. So do you have any questions?
What's this?
That, I'm not sure.
I think it's.
Sewing
also a
machine, I think,
hand-
on the bottom,
I think it's a
right?
hand, I think this is an auger. I think you stick a drill of some sort here, and then this is, I guess you
Put your knee on
put
it,
your
maybe?
knee
That would make
and lean
sense.
against it, and this here, and then you grind it, and that use a drill, a hand drill.
That's right. And on the bottom, what is that?
That's an embosser. It embosses things like.
See, we have a lot of we store a lot of stuff up here, but this is where they had 4 kids, this family, and so this is, you know, just a couple of bedrooms.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Was that like a window?
Yeah, that's outside. I mean, I don't know if it's an attic or if you can just go out like to where, you know, like a little opening or maybe a little storage area.
Did they ever check in like the walls or anything? Sometimes people used to hide things in there,
Not that I know of.
or even the
Well,
floorboards.
they're getting ready to like redo the roof, so that might be a time like for them.
You
to-
might want to have them checked, because sometimes people would hide things in it and then you have more to put on display.
That's true.
Even some loose floorboards I would check. So I watch a lot of metal detecting videos, and you wouldn't believe what they could find.
That's interesting. I'm gonna bring that up for sure.
You may even want, if you know anyone who's trustworthy who actually does metal detecting, you might want to have them check the grounds around here. You might find some old coins or old buttons.
Oh, cool. Yeah, when they moved the trail over that used to be like where the railroad tracks were, they found some old like railroad spikes, and they found a lot of like the plates and stuff from the tracks and stuff, which was kind of nice. And they found old bottles and things like
Any of
that.
the insulators that used to go on top of the pole?
I don't think so.
Because I know a lot of them could be pretty interesting, and I know a lot of people collect them, especially if you find any of the pink ones. I guess from what I understand, they turn pink because they're struck by lightning.
Oh.
It somehow changes the color of the glasses. What I've heard.
Oh, that's
So they're really rare.
interesting. Yeah. I'll have to like keep an eye out for them. Yeah, be careful going down here.
Do you know what the story of that turtle shell is?
Somebody donated that. Just somebody brought the turtle shell, and they brought a whole bunch of donations and stuff, and they said that they had, found that turtle shell and they had polished it up and stuff, and they donated it to us. We haven't found a place for it yet. Thomas Edison Victrola. So of course it has to be wound. And this is the cabinet that was made for it. There's no volume control, so however loud it is what you get, And this is all the records. You see how thick they are, and they're pretty heavy.
Here's the house I was just in that I just got the tour in. I'm gonna go on to the next one. Pretty cool, pretty interesting. Here's the next one I'm gonna go into. First I want to show you the most important place of the whole house.
That's not the type you have.
The outhouse.
Yeah, right.
As it going in one of those back in the day. Especially when it was hot or cold. Ooh. Looks like this is the current house, built in 1883. Pretty cool. Let's go inside and look around.
Camera going. So this is the Kern house. The Kerns, that was Eleanor and Alexander Kern. They came down here from New Jersey, 1883. Built this house in 1885. And they really came down here as land speculators, land development. Now, Mr. Kern was a very prominent figure here. This house stood on Montrose Street, which is a few blocks away from here, and he also bought 8 vacant lots over in Montrose Street and proceeded to sell those. He also owned one of the first public waterworks here. He had a water tower in his backyard and supplied water through mains. And he also owned a retail general store. He was one of the first signers of the Notice of Organization for Clermont in 1891. So he was a real pioneer here. They had traveled down from New Jersey by steamboat through the chain of lakes to Yalaha, and then traveled overland 16 miles by wagon and 2 horses to Clermont and settled here. Now, coming down here was actually, quite a feat. Much of this was undeveloped. He would encourage people to come down, but you had to drain the swamps, you had to start building things, so it was really quite a challenge. There were very few people down here, but land was really inexpensive, so it was worth encouraging people to come down, build, and promote the citrus industry and things like that as well. And it was also in conjunction, really coincidentally, with the development of the railroads down here in the 1880s. There were 3 railroads that traveled through central Florida and connected the East Coast with the West Coast, be able to bring people down and ship produce up. So it really was inherent in the development of Clermont. All the floors are original. Again, heart of pine. Now this house stood on, as I say, over on Montrose Street and was moved over here as well. And as you can see coming in here, there's no electricity in here, so it's pretty well appointed. All of the items in here are pertinent to the period, but they're not original to the house, except there's one dresser drawer upstairs. So pretty well appointed kitchen. They had running water in their kitchen. They could pump water from Crystal Lake 1,500 feet to the water tower in the back of his house to supply water to people. And then later on, a few years later, a well was built as well. And Clermont then reincorporated and built its own waterworks. You could certainly have running water here, but we still had to use the outhouse, bathrooms. Mm-hmm. And you have the ice box here. Several times a week, an iceman would come, put ice in here and supply it. There was an ice plant near one of the train depots here to supply ice to people who lived here, but also to line the railway cars to ship goods up north.
And I'm assuming that building's gone?
I don't believe it still exists. No, it's near a depot. You can actually see a picture of it in the library, along with the packing plant that actually burned down to the ground as well. If you go into the library, it's in the far corner over here. But it's right near one of the train depots. And kerosene stove was probably, again, outside because of the fumes. You had a wood-burning stove here as well. Ice cream maker. I think one of the neatest items in here is a kerosene-fueled iron, which put kerosene in here, and there was actually flame in here that you were ironing with. Can you imagine? And churn, sausage maker, spice grinder, got your rug beaters. And we can move along into the music room. Of course, there were no televisions or TV or computers or anything like that, so you could entertain yourself. Again, a lot of this was donated. This is a item, Edison phonograph that still works. It's sort of fun to turn that on. And of course, you can learn about the world through stereoptics. Look through that and see the world in 3D.
Yeah, I've seen those before.
Yeah, you learn how to, about that. We have a bunch of cards here, they're sort of fun. So, again, a heater. Sometimes it gets quite cool here, so. We can make our way upstairs if you'd like. Mm-hmm. Make your way upstairs. Mind your head if you're tall. Now, the Kerns had 2 children, but this is a pretty, well-to-do house. So there are like 4 bedrooms, and they're all kind of connected. This is the master bedroom. Again, none of the furniture is original to the house, but certainly pertinent to the period. And I like to dress up in costume, but I do draw the line at corsets. So, I'm into corsets. See how pretty, how skinny some of the dresses are. Again, all of this was refurbished. Floors are still original, but had to be refurbished, but a lot of the walls and things were in pretty bad repair. Now this was the chest of drawers that is original to the house. Mr. Kern owned the local retail general store, Wilson General Store, General Merchandise, and in order to encourage people to come down to build, he would lend them money. And when they repaid the loan, he would gift them a bedroom set. So this is one of the dressers from one of those bedroom sets that was gifted to the Cole family back in the day. And of course, the children's room. Put a very impressive dollhouse. There's a couple, the Cooper-Inskys, who made dollhouses for a living, and they would reproduce your house. So I would love to know where this house is.
You think it's located around here?
I don't know. I had no idea, but it's pretty impressive. Again, another bedroom. Now this closet was when they were doing the refurbishing of this house. This is actually the original wallpaper that was in here, and obviously they had to, refurbish it. So we got a pretty good match. Certainly has the feeling.
Is there an attic?
I don't believe there's an attic in here. Not that well, there might be a roof line up that way. I don't know if there was an attic that you could actually, climb stairs to. Again, a bed warmer to keep it warm. That is the current house.
Very interesting, thank you.
Were double pane glass windows, and they were pretty heavy to open and close back in the day, so they used them for like heating and cooling, but they had these lead weights on them, and it would make it really easy to open and close the windows. You can see those there.
Interesting, I would never have known that.
Yeah.
And what year did you say this was?
1902. Okay. And this is a Thomas Edison also. And it's a portable one, because you can, it has a cover that latches on, and then you lock it and you take the horn off, the speaker off, and you can carry it around. So really it was like the original like boombox. That's what
Yeah, like a Walkman.
yeah, you can carry it. These are the records.
Interesting. The next one here is a recreation of a one-room schoolhouse. So let's check it out. I've been in a few of these before, original ones, and I've seen a few. And there was one I seen one up in New York State, and they were authentic ones. I saw one in Clermont, Florida, one-room schoolhouse. I've never been in that one, but I was in the one that I saw up in New York State. But there's a whole bunch of these around. I remember when I came in, I thought they were real people right there. Looks like a little storage thing. Pretty cool. And that's how you went to school back in the day. Wow. One thing I want to try one of these. You can see them in the different buildings.
of Clermont's first school, a hunting cabin which belonged to the Harry Hooks family. This cabin was located near Jack's Lake in the vicinity of the present intersection of highways 50 and 27. Mrs. Thomas J. Hooks was the first Clermont school teacher, having come here from Atlanta.
Pretty cool, pretty interesting that they have these.
She taught 12
You listen to a little narrative, historical narrative. I like that. Good touch.
for 5 months.
Alright, well, let's get on to the next part. Alright, thank you. On to the library now. You don't mind if I record?
All right, do you want me to take off my glasses or?
No?
Okay, so the Cooper Library was built in 1914 at a cost of $600. And prior to that, it had been held in the living room of someone's home. So they closed it, and now the library is up on Oakley Seaver, and it goes to the college. But there's all kinds of good stuff in there.
Okay. Alright, thanks. Just like a library, very, very quiet. I always thought those old wooden radios always look so classy looking. Right, awesome shape. There's the citrus tower.
Hi, welcome to the Cooper Memorial Library. Thank you. This building was built in 1914 at a cost of $600. And when it closed, they moved it from, it was on the hill and 8th Street, and they moved it here. And the library is on Oakley Seaver, it's $100. And it's also a beautiful building, and you have all kinds of things, but this was the original. And there's a model inside and all kinds of good stuff, so. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them, but people like to kind of go in and just.
This was interesting.
Here's the World War II museum section. Gonna head on in there. Check it out.
Tracking things. Oh, yes. It was different. It was great. I've never seen so many colors in my life.
Now, from what I understand, they told me out here, this building was built in the 40s and it was used like for a searchlight station. See if any enemy bombers were appearing up ahead. I guess it was built right here in this section. So this is original vintage World War II building. Looks pretty cool. Look at the bunk beds. I'd be afraid of falling. Most people always want the top, but I want the bottom. Hey.
What?
So, wait a minute. So what do you think of this place so far?
Oh, it's interesting. This is good. A lot of stuff to look, a lot of study. You can do a lot of teaching activities here. And papers, thesis papers would be good, especially if you're in a PhD program. A lot of history. Oh
You know
my
what's-
God.
And you know what's kind of interesting? All these buildings have these. You press this, and it gives a little speech about it.
Before the beginning of World War II, in March 1941, the military realized the need for structures that could be quickly transported and built if war should erupt. The Navy Construction Division, called the Seabees, was asked to design buildings to meet this need. In 2 months, the Quonset hut was designed and prototypes were built at Quonset Point, Navy Base in Rhode Island. The first ones were 36 feet and could be erected in just 1 day by 8 men. As needs changed, 5 different designs were developed, and there were 86 different interior layouts. At the end of World War II, surplus building kits were sold to the public for $1,000, and many were purchased by returning military members and were used as their first home. This building, along with others in the Orlando area, was constructed in 1943 and was occupied by the A, B, and C batteries of the 224th Coast Artillery Searchlight Battalion in July 1943 after training in Fort Bliss, Texas. They continued more training here, and in January 1944 were shipped to Milne Bay, New Guinea, where they served in the Pacific.
I always like coming to these places. Even if it's a smaller museum, they're just as interesting and enjoyable to me as a real big one. And there's so much history, all of them, especially about local history. So I'm definitely happy I came here. Look at this. Now I wonder... Oh, that's for the air conditioning. I was going to say it was one of those like a toilet or something at one time. Whoops, I got to flip the screen around. Okay, well, on to the next one. This is pretty cool.
Of course, it's not working right on your phone. Oh, that's good. That would work.
Head into the train station now. Cool, thanks.
There's some pictures here on the wall, and I'll push the button too, and it'll tell you a little bit about it too. This was the originally built one. You could see the peaks, and it was really different because of the architecture. It's like Russian architecture. And then this is a replacement station. And it was called one of the trains that ran along the tracks here was called the TNG, the Tavares and Gulf Railroad. And they nicknamed it the Tugging Grunt.
You'd be surprised how many of the different cities use the old train station as museums. Like, was it Dundee, Lake Wales, Plant City has a really nice one.
Oh, wow. In Tavares, too, if you ever go up there, they have a train station it's been the fire department for a long time, and they're moving out of it, and they're going to use it for a museum, the Tavares Historical Society.
Now, this would have been where the ticket office was?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. This could have been the ticket office, and I think this was a waiting area out here. They would wait for the train. And I can show you in the back, there's some loading docks outside.
Okay.
And then there's a train signal.
Okay.
Yeah, so this would have gone into like the loading dock area because that's where the docks are outside. And then here's a couple of pictures of the workers and stuff when it was in business. And then I showed you the signal before. Yeah.
Now that train signal, is that original?
Yes, that's original. And then these are where the loading docks were. And then, where the train signal is, the track used to run right along there. And these, when they moved they made them into trails in the 80s on that Rails to Trails program. But just recently they moved the trail over. But when they moved it over, they found a bunch of plates. These are the plates that I was telling you about, like the old railroad plates. And inside on the windowsills, there's some like old spikes and stuff that they found.
Now, did they take out the trash completely, or is there any of it left? Like way down there?
There's no more left. Yeah,
Okay.
I think they're making like a coast-to-coast connector trail, so they've gotten up all the tracks that they could around this area.
Okay.
After my brother-in-law ran out into the street, he wouldn't come near us, but he followed us for probably about a block.
I'm told his name is Max, and I filmed him a second ago. And of course, as soon as I stopped filming, then he did his rooster sounds. So I'm hoping he does it again. But I bet you, I'm filming, it's not going to happen. I guess he's been living here for like a year. Originally came over, there was a forest over there. When they knocked it down, he came out. You gonna make your noise? Huh? No, I don't think he's gonna do it. You look at some of these cool inscriptions. That says Wonderful Wanda. There's Jim A. I think that's a little part of history underneath your feet. You don't notice a lot. And there's several more. So, who knows how long it's been there. Okay, that's it. I got a pretty good tour of this place. Everyone's really nice, very interesting. I learned a lot. I'm happy I finally got a chance to come here. I'm definitely game for coming here again. I actually like Clermont. I did, let's see, I'm thinking this is probably my third video I ever filmed here. I did the President's Hall of Fame, then I did the Citrus Tower, and they're already on this channel, so if you check out my historical playlist, you could find it. But this is very interesting. I'll put a link down below for their website for this place, and then you can see the sign right there behind me. Any comments or questions, put them below. First channel video of mine you ever seen, please check out my channel. I do a lot of food reviews, restaurant views, tourist stuff like Disney and Legoland, historical places, museums, abandoned places, unboxing videos. I just do a whole boatload of stuff. So if you could please check out my channel, if you like, please subscribe. Alright, thank you for everyone watching. Hope everyone has a nice day. Bye everybody, bye.